The police found my daughter alone, no phone, no money, standing under a flickering street light in the wrong part of town. Her mother, at that exact moment, was uncorking a bottle of Chardonnay in the penthouse of the man I once kept out of prison. My name is Jacob Holloway, 46, Naples, Florida. I'm a marine insurance inspector, the guy companies call when something expensive ends up on the bottom. Most mornings begin before dawn, neoprene against skin, salt tang in the throat, spear gun balanced across my palm. Down there, among coral ghosts and battered hulls, the rules are honest, steel, current, breath. Lies dissolve at depth. I've been married to Olivia for 15 years. We have a 12-year-old daughter, Chloe. She's quiet, brilliant, can already equalize at 15 feet and hold her breath 90 seconds. Above water, she speaks in half sentences and long gazes. Underwater, her eyes widen with a kind of fearless curiosity I can only envy. Lately, Olivia felt absent. Too many midnight campaign launches. Too many conferences in hotels that never send receipts. I catalog clues the way I log fiberglass fractures, date, time, angle of impact, but I filed them away for later, for Chloe's sake. You don't scuttle a boat in calm seas. Friday, June 7th. I drove home from Marathon Key after 4 days examining a half-sunk yacht, sun-bleached shoulders, salt scabs on my wrists, an ache between the vertebrae that pulsed with each mile. 2046. Outside, 79 degrees Fahrenheit, 68% humidity. Mosquitoes swarmed the porch light in slow, drunken spirals. Inside, nothing. No cartoon chatter rolling out of the living room, no clatter of Olivia's bamboo chopsticks in a salad bowl, not even the whir of the AC she loved to keep at Arctic settings. Just a stale, unmoving hush. I called, "Chloe?" My voice slapped back off the drywall. Her sneakers were gone. Her school backpack, too. A small detail shoved an ice pick beneath my ribs. The charger for her phone dangled from the outlet, phone missing. The inspector in me noted absence equals damage. Then the father in me took over. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Good evening, sir. Officer Raymond, Collier County PD. We have your daughter at the Livingston substation. She was found walking alone near the flyover exit. She says her mother dropped her off and did not return. Livingston Road, 21 minutes from our front door, a strip of pawnshops and shuttered diners. I had reported stolen outboards there. I'd never leave a dog there, let alone a child. The substation smelled of burnt coffee and stale floor wax. Fluorescent tubes hummed overhead, turning skin the color of pooled milk. Chloe sat in a molded plastic chair too big for her, a styrofoam cup of Sprite balanced in both hands. Faint red indentations, seatbelt marks, crossed her shoulder. Her voice, when she saw me, was smaller than the hiss of the vending machine behind her. "I called her 5 times, Dad. She never picked up. She didn't ask where her mother was." That silence said everything. While I signed the release form, an elderly desk sergeant asked if anyone else should be notified. At that precise moment my phone vibrated, Olivia's mother. I let it go to voicemail. Some shields aren't worth lifting. Driving home, Chloe stared out the window. Streetlights cut slow pulses across her face. In each blink I saw another layer of trust peel away. Back at the house she changed straight into pajamas and crawled under her comforter printed with manatees. I brewed chamomile, the kind she claims tastes like warm grass, but she only held the mug, watching steam curl toward the ceiling fan. I sat beside her until her breathing steadied, though her eyes never fully closed, as if sleep required a contract she no longer believed in. 21:13. Front door latch clicked. Olivia's laughter floated in, with it, perfume laced with unfamiliar cedar. She kicked off her heels, griped about hotel Wi-Fi, and asked if anyone had watered the ficus. No question about Chloe. I answered nothing. Silence can be a scalpel. She drifted down the hallway, humming, unaware of the empty bedroom 2 doors over. I showered the road dust away, but under the hot stream a single thought looped: structural integrity depends on unseen seams. When I stepped back into the kitchen, Olivia's tablet glowed on the stone countertop, casting brittle light on a half-eaten protein bar. I tell myself I opened it to adjust parental controls. Truth, professional curiosity, the habit of following hairline cracks until daylight shines through. Passcode? Our wedding date, easy combination to forget unless you catalog details for a living. The screen bloomed with a second life, reservations under her maiden name, rideshare logs, Gmail threads with someone tagged. G. Then a folder simply called Red Sale. I tapped. There she was, photographed in a gold-framed bathroom mirror, wineglass raised, a half-laugh curling one corner of her mouth. Dominating the background, the oil painting of a schooner under crimson sails against a sulfur sky. Only one man collects those, Gregory Wright. Wright, whom I testified for 5 years ago, swearing under oath that a mischarted reef, not fraudulent maintenance, hold his logistics trawler. My statement tipped the verdict. He walked free, shareholders intact, his teenage son spared the stain of a jailbird's surname. He shook my hand outside the courthouse. You saved my family's name, Jake. I owe you one. Debt paid, apparently. I found Olivia asleep, tablet's blue glow still on her cheek like coward's moonlight. She looked peaceful, certain of the safety people feel when they believe consequences need permission to enter the room. I lay beside her, arms at my sides, inhaled the wine-heavy exhale drifting through her lips. I remembered Chloe at age 3, feverish, Olivia pacing marbled floors, whisper praying into a damp dish towel. Tears then were real, mineral salt and mother panic raw. I tried to fit that version of her into the silhouette before me, the pieces refused. Across the room, the digital clock blinked 22:47. Every 60 seconds it erased and repainted the same red numbers, a quiet metronome counting down to something only I could hear. A notification pinged on the tablet. See you Sunday, oh? My pulse slowed instead of spiking. That's when I knew. Anger makes noise, resolve is mute. Men like me survey wrecks for a living. We note stress fractures, map them, decide whether the vessel can be salvaged or should be scuttled. Tonight I charted one more hull, my marriage, and logged the coordinates of every crack. Olivia exhaled, deep and even, as if the world adored her. She had no idea she'd already lost everything. Not because I was angry. Because I was done being angry. When a man like me goes quiet, truly quiet, something irreversible is already in motion. What does a father do when his daughter is in danger, and the enemy sleeps under the same roof? I couldn't sleep. At 5:12 a.m., I grabbed my gear and drove to Doctor's Pass, where I usually dive before storms roll in. The tide was high. The air smelled like wet rope and diesel from a trawler moored nearby. Underwater, everything slows down. No voices. No lies. Just weight and pressure and silence. I needed that silence. When I surfaced 40 minutes later, I already knew what I had to do. No screaming. No scenes. Just the truth. All of it. Back at home, Chloe was still asleep. I kissed her forehead and told her I'd be out most of the day. Then I got to work. I backed up Olivia's tablet to a flash drive. Emails, photos, hotel confirmations, GPS data. Her encrypted apps left metadata, timestamps, locations, even battery logs. She was careless. Confident. Like she thought I'd never look. At 11:30 a.m., I walked into Coastal Federal Credit Union on 5th Avenue. Our joint accounts were clean, too clean. A pattern emerged. Olivia had been draining small amounts every month and moving them to a private investment account under her maiden name. Her estimated balance? $184,000. Not bad for someone who said her clients were late on payments. She wasn't just having an affair. She was planning an exit. I ordered a forensic report of our finances and told the branch manager I suspected unauthorized transfers. Legally, I had every right. My name was still on the joint tax returns. He didn't argue. Outside the bank, I sat in the truck and stared at the glove compartment. Inside it was a small, hard case. Black plastic. Inside that, a backup phone I used for offshore claims. No SIM card. Just Wi-Fi. I'd used it for photos and location logs while diving. But now, it had a new purpose. I created a new email account. One she wouldn't recognize. I connected it to a storage folder and began uploading the data, screenshots, message logs, travel receipts. Everything she thought I'd never see. Then I waited. That night, she came home late again, hair still wet from a rooftop pool, phone buzzing nonstop with messages she didn't bother to hide. Long day? I asked. She smiled. Campaign season. I nodded. I figured. I poured her wine. She didn't notice my hands were dry, bone dry. I hadn't touched the water since the dive. She scrolled while sipping. Chloe peeked from the hallway, unsure whether to join us or vanish upstairs. I looked at my daughter and decided I'd never let that look cross her face again. Later, while Olivia showered, I retrieved her car keys and opened the trunk. Just as I'd suspected, an overnight bag tucked under the emergency kit. Fresh clothes, charger, a burner phone. A printed map of Bimini folded between receipts for parking and fuel. She wasn't planning a breakup. She was planning a disappearance. The next morning, I made a quiet call to a lab in Miami. They do discreet testing, paternity mostly. I packaged a strand of Chloe's hair, sealed it, and mailed it with express delivery. Not because I doubted her, but because Olivia turned every truth into a maybe. And I needed a baseline I could trust. Then I met with an old friend, Danny Alvarez, a Marine Patrol officer who owed me a favor from way back. We sat on a bench near the pier, eating lukewarm Cuban sandwiches while I outlined what I knew. He didn't ask why I hadn't gone to the police. He just said, "You want this on or off the books?" "Off," I said. He nodded. "Then you didn't get this from me." He handed me a flash drive. On it, surveillance stills from the marina. Olivia. Gregory. Boarding a private charter with no manifest filed. She wasn't stupid. Just overconfident. That night I logged everything, times, dates, faces. And I kept it all quiet. Not for her. For Chloe. She deserved a world where things made sense. Where people told the truth or paid the price. I watched Olivia sleep again, same position as always. Hand curled under her cheek like a child. She dreamed easily. People like her do. I thought of the dive that morning, the way light fractured through the current, how shadows bent around broken things. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calibrating. To destroy a lie, you don't shout. You wait until it collapses under its own weight. 5:58 a.m. Outside, the horizon blurred pink over the Gulf. I sat at the kitchen table, barefoot, Chloe's favorite blanket draped across her shoulders as she dozed on the couch beside me. A single email notification slid across the screen. Preliminary DNA findings, confidential. I didn't open it right away. Instead, I looked at her. She had tucked her chin under the fleece like she used to when she was 5, and for a moment, I wished I could rewind a year. A week. Even a day. But time doesn't offer edits. Only decisions. I clicked. And just like that, the silence was over. He said, "Paternity exclusion, 99.9997%. Subject A is not the biological father of Subject B." No apology. No soft language. Just the blade of data. Something inside me didn't crack, it cooled into steel. 7 weeks of Chloe's colic, 200 bedtime stories, and every dawn tied together had forged fatherhood far stronger than DNA. I closed the browser. The cursor blinked like a lone buoy in open water. On the couch, Chloe murmured in her sleep. Her manatee plush had slipped to the floor. I put it back against her chest and whispered the promise I made the night her fever finally broke: "You'll never drift alone." Olivia's tablet glowed on the kitchen table. The folder marked Red Sail opened into rot, prenatal selfies with an unfamiliar man, crypto ledgers under 3 spellings of her maiden name, hotel receipts tied to aliases identical to customs logs. She'd been rehearsing betrayal for years. I cloned every byte to a flash drive, locked it in my wall safe beside a cracked diver's watch whose second hand always lags half a tick, my reminder that perfect timing is a myth. At Coastal Federal, the manager led me into a glass cubicle that smelled of toner and seawall mildew. He said, "We're detecting pattern microtransfers from your joint account." I replied, "My wife calls them client reimbursements. I call them breadcrumbs." While the printer rattled out a forensic order, his monitor flashed red, alert, remote login attempt, user Olivia H. My storm had brushed her door already. Outside, a black SUV idled at the curb. The instant I stepped toward it, the engine growled and the vehicle rolled away. Coincidence? Men who survey wrecks don't believe in coincidence. I wired a retainer to a private investigator in Fort Myers. Over greasy Cuban sandwiches on the pier, Danny Alvarez handed me a thumb drive, Olivia and Gregory boarding a Key Biscayne water taxi under false names. He said, "You sure you want to deep dive this trench?" I replied, "I'm not diving. I'm draining it." At the attorney's office I dropped 3 tectonic words that tilt custody. I said, "Neglect. Abandonment. Endangerment." She was drafting emergency motions before I reached the parking lot. Olivia breezed in early that evening carrying spicy Thai takeout, Chloe's least favorite smell, her phone lighting up with messages. She said, "Long week?" I replied, "Tidal." Chloe rearranged basil leaves into silent SOS patterns. Olivia offered to rub my shoulders. I declined. "You don't let termites massage the beams." Near midnight the investigator pinged again. He said, "The man before Gregory, sealed record Vegas, 2009, domestic assault. Olivia bailed him with a fake ID. Timeline overlaps Chloe's conception. Not an affair, an ecosystem." I found Chloe barefoot in the hallway. She said, "Are we still a family?" I replied, "Stronger than any wave. Keep your phone on tonight." She nodded and slipped back to bed, trusting currents I would soon redirect. From the deck the Gulf looked like oil-black glass. A civilian drone buzzed above the palms. I hit it with my dive torch and watched it streak toward Highway 41. Surveillance cuts both ways. Inside, Olivia's phone vibrated on her nightstand. He said, "Tickets confirmed. Sunday dawn. No mistakes." She slept through it. People convinced of immunity sleep deeply. I cinched the cracked watch band, 3 rotations of the second hand to Sunday. The house settled into midnight hush. The front door camera blinked. Motion, front door. I opened the live feed. Olivia stood in yoga pants, suitcase at her shin. Behind her, a tattooed arm, red sail schooner ink, passed her a thick envelope, then covered the lens with a gloved palm. The screen went black. Somewhere down the hall Chloe stirred, as if she felt the hull list a single degree. I listened to the diver's watch carve seconds out of the dark, 3 rotations to sunrise, plenty of depth to chart, and nowhere near enough water for them to disappear. Thunk. The front deadbolt slid open, metal on metal. My phone lit up with one message. "Sunday isn't waiting." I spent Saturday morning cleaning my dive gear, but it was the kind of cleaning a man does when he needs noise more than results. The garage smelled of neoprene and rusted latches. Every motion, unscrewing the nozzle, checking O-rings, wiping salt from fins, was deliberate, not for maintenance, but meditation. I couldn't afford panic. My father always said, "If the house is burning, fold laundry." By noon, I had reviewed every file from the investigator twice. One detail stuck. Gregory had booked a chartered boat under a different alias. Marcus Delane. Same man. Same tattoo of red sails. Different name, different plan. I drove to the marina under the excuse of needing new spear tips. In truth, I wanted to see the boat, confirm the final chapter they were writing for themselves. The boat was real. 42-foot catamaran named Quiet Current. Clean lines, twin engines, newer than mine. Registered to a shell company based in Delaware. No flags, no real name on the side. That told me everything. They didn't want a vacation. They wanted erasure. The woman at the tackle shop smiled as I paid for stainless heads. She said, "Taking the family out tomorrow?" I replied, "No. Just cleaning house." That evening Olivia wore a white wrap dress and lip gloss she hadn't used in years. Chloe stayed in her room. I told her we'd go paddle boarding at sunrise, just her and me. Her smile was small, like she didn't believe me, but wanted to. I said, "Pack your bag. Just in case." She asked, "Why?" I replied, "Sometimes we leave to come back stronger." Olivia came into the living room carrying a glass of Merlot and her overnight bag. She said, "I'll be back by Sunday evening. Try not to burn the house down." I asked, "Business again?" She said, "You could call it that." I glanced at the table where her tablet used to be. "Gone," I replied. "Safe travels." She didn't hug Chloe. Didn't ask about her plans. Just keys, perfume, and silence. That night, Chloe couldn't sleep. I found her curled on the couch in the living room, clutching a throw pillow. She asked, "Are you mad at Mom?" I replied, "I'm more mad at myself for waiting this long." She said, "What happens now?" I answered, "Now? We stop letting people lie to us." At 2:17 a.m., I received a notification from the private investigator. A single line. He said, "They just checked into the marina under the name Harper." Same as her grandmother's maiden name. The kind of lazy alias only a person too confident would choose. I opened the wall safe, took out the USB with her files, and locked them in a waterproof box. Then I printed copies, each marked with timestamps and location logs. One I sent to my attorney with a note. "Hold until Monday." Another to the PI's office. The third I buried beneath the spare air tank in the boat. You don't corner a shark without planning your swim back. When I finally sat down, my diver's watch said 3:22. The second hand skipped again, just half a beat. But that flaw kept me grounded. Reminded me that even machines built to survive pressure crack when ignored. At 4:05, a message flashed on Olivia's laptop. I had left it sync through an old iCloud credential. He said, "Final details confirmed. Doc 17. No errors. Sunday. 6:45 a.m. And then," she replied, "finally, my new life starts. He won't even see it coming." Except I had. All of it. Every breadcrumb. Every misstep. Every lie wrapped in lipstick. Outside, a motion light flickered. I moved toward the window and froze. A figure crouched near the mailbox. Phone in hand. Camera glint. Then, vanished. I scanned the street. No car. Just the echo of tires over distant asphalt. Inside, I powered off every router, set the phones to airplane mode. I wasn't paranoid. I was late. Then soft footsteps. Back door. I slid the small recorder under the coffee table, angled toward the hallway. The door clicked. She whispered, "Greg, quiet." Gregory followed 2 steps behind, suitcase in hand, glancing like a thief who thinks he's still charming. Their silhouettes passed through the hallway. No hesitation. No remorse. A single door ajar alarm chirped. Gregory's whisper. 41 hours. My recorder blinked red. 41 hours to Sunday. No one leaves alive. The house smelled of cinnamon and fear. My coffee tasted off, but I drained it anyway, tracing the hairline crack in a mug Olivia once promised to replace. One domestic fracture that never healed. Appropriate. Chloe's door rested half open. Inside I heard the slow brush of her breathing and the shuffle of blankets. She said, "Did Mom already leave?" I replied, "School run. She'll be back soon." No more questions. She hugged her dolphin plush and slipped behind the door again. I packed the last flash drive into a padded envelope, addressed it to a cousin in Tallahassee, and dropped it into the outgoing mail. 2 other copies of the Red Sail folder already waited, one in a fireproof safe at the dive shop, another locked in a deposit box rented under a borrowed name. Redundancy. like reef anchors. Olivia's suitcase sat beside the dresser. I opened the lining, vinyl peeled with a soft hiss, releasing the bitter scent of faux leather. I slid a GPS tag against the wheel brace, taped it flat, and tested the beacon twice, once silent, once vibrating to mimic travel. The Tacoma reeked of old vinyl and half-dead pine air freshener. A phantom drizzle triggered the wipers and set their rubber shriek across the glass. On AM radio a host warned of smugglers near Bimini. I shut it off. A patrol cruiser drifted past, the deputy giving me the cursory look cops reserve for restless vehicles. My diver's watch lagged half a beat, 10:17 on my wrist, 10:18 on the courthouse clock, time refusing to sync. She said, "Emergency custody, neglect, abandonment, endangerment." "You're sure?" I replied. She turned Chloe into bait. "I'm finished waiting," she said. "Judge should sign Monday." I replied. "Monday's late. Sunday is the storm." While the clerk scanned my files, I noticed a torn envelope resealed with mismatched tape. My name printed in block capitals. Inside, a photo of my truck outside Coastal Federal, license plate circled in red. One word on the back, soon. Damp sawdust I'd swept from the porch that morning now bore a single shoe print, larger than mine, heel smeared with red clay we don't have in Naples. I pocketed the evidence and stepped inside. Near the aquarium a sliver of glass winked. The tank lid held a hairline crack, the filter hummed softer than yesterday. Angelfish cowered behind a fake castle. A nailed trap under the back window remained armed, yet the trip wire sagged, as if tested by careful hands. He said, 41 hours. His whisper from the night before echoed as sharp as the shard between my fingers. Failsafe armed, if the suitcase tag crossed county lines, 3 encrypted archives would launch, one to my lawyer, one to a Tampa journalist, one to a cold server in Norway. No countdown, only consequence. The bleach sting of yesterday's DNA lab still clung to my sinuses. Chlorhexidine, latex gloves, the high-pitched whine of a centrifuge, reminders that truth could be reduced to 8 letters on a printout, C, G, A, T in the wrong order. Chloe painted cardboard planets in the living room, blue streaks running down the utility sink when she rinsed her brushes. She said, "If something happens and you're not here, do I still call you?" I replied, "Every minute, even if I'm 10,000 feet under." She said, "Promise?" I replied, louder than any oath. I handed her a prepaid phone labeled Aunt Maya and tucked a folded code into the heel of her sneaker, a list of vault combinations and one line, "Trust silence more than words." Outside, mangrove frogs clicked in thick night air. A black SUV idled half a block down, parking lights off, a faint blue glow on the driver's face. I raised my phone, the screen glare painted me white. Tail lamps flared then died. Georgia plates, mud-flecked. The engine coughed, the vehicle slid into darkness. My heart held steady at 54. The diver's watch ticked its crooked half-beat behind. Olivia returned with boxed sushi and a bakery bag, smiling like customer service. She said, "You're tense." I replied, "Timing's off." She said, "We could go away next week." "Just us." I replied, "Sunday's booked." Her perfume, white lily and ozone, trailed up the stairs like a warning flare. I said a silent push, suitcase crosses the county line, files fire in 90 seconds. I wrote the trigger code on a strip of tape and stuck it beneath the dining room table leg. Soon after midnight the house exhaled. Wood creaked in a keyless cadence. The aquarium filter gurgled once and fell silent. A single door ajar alarm chirped. Gregory's whisper drifted through the hallway. He said, 40 hours. My recorder flashed red under the coffee table. 40 hours to Sunday. Someone won't see sunrise. The house breathed shallow, waiting for disaster. I lay awake, mapping every creak, floorboards shifting, the aquarium filter sputtering, Chloe's soft breaths 2 rooms away. Olivia's phone vibrated on the nightstand. She dressed in the dark, perfume hanging in the air, white lily, ozone, and something burnt. She said, "Bakery run." Back soon, I replied. Pick up eggs. We're out. The door clicked after her. I opened the GPS app. The tag in Olivia's suitcase pulsed outside town, parked at a gated villa Gregory owned under an alias. I saved the coordinates, screenshotted the map, and archived the file 3 times. Chloe shuffled into the kitchen in an oversized hoodie, eyes rimmed by worry more than sleep. She said, "Mom left early." I replied, "Special orders." She said, "Her signal shows East Ridge." I paused. I replied, "You're tracking Mom?" She said nothing, just sipped orange juice from a cat-shaped mug. I added, "Smart." By late morning I had swapped every curtain rod camera for higher-resolution units, each streaming to a folder titled Sunday Evidence. Reviewing the night footage, I saw Olivia enter alone near midnight, but 9 minutes earlier a man limped across the yard, hood up, stride long. Not me. Olivia returned carrying croissants, quiche, and wilted sunflowers. She said, "Breakfast from La Petite, your favorite." I replied, "Trying to impress the jury?" She said, "Trying to reset. We deserve that." Over lunch her phone lit with a message reflection in the microwave door. Door was unlatched. "You need me today?" She tilted the screen away, thumbs working under the table. Chloe noticed. She said, "You and Dad argued last night." Olivia said, "Just a disagreement." Chloe said, "He never raised his voice." "You did." Olivia's fork scraped the plate like she meant to erase sound. Chloe followed me into the garage. She said, "Georgia plates are back." "Why is that man following Mom?" I replied, "Remember tide patterns? You don't need every piece, just enough to know when to swim and when to let the current carry the truth ashore." She said, "Is he dangerous?" I replied, "Not if we stay ahead." I handed her a key to a storage unit 20 minutes away, every physical backup I'd ever made. She waited in her palm, breathing steady. Olivia changed clothes mid-afternoon. She said, "Wine shop tasting." "I'll be quick," I replied. 2 bottles still sit unopened." She said, "Different vintage." Then perfume, glitter on a casual dress, mismatched shoes, and she was gone. Chloe watched from the doorway. She said, "Her story and her clothes never match." I replied, "Keep seeing. Keep storing." We spent twilight with cartoons. Chloe's hand slid into mine without words. Olivia returned humming. She said, "You're up late." I replied, "So are you." She said, "Needed air." She retreated upstairs, smile too wide. I backed up fresh recordings and typed 3 new lines into the evidence file. Footsteps, whispers, suitcase ping. Gregory's voice had stopped creeping, now it rehearsed. An alert flashed. The suitcase location jumped a mile and vanished. The geofence hadn't triggered, meaning someone killed the tag. Cameras showed nothing until I remembered the crawlspace vent behind the dryer. Chloe knocked at my door. She said, "I don't want Mom to tuck me in." I replied, "She won't." She said, "She smells different." "Not like Mom." I replied, "Noted." I stitched her dolphin plush where the fin had ripped. She lay back, eyes on the ceiling. She said, "Will you still be here tomorrow?" I replied, "Long enough to finish what started." A chirp cut the silence, door ajar alarm. Gregory's whisper drifted closer than before. He said, 36 hours. The aquarium light flickered. The hallway vent snapped shut. Behind the dryer, metal scraped wood. My recorder's red LED blinked once, twice, then stayed bright. The Tacoma rolled past the county line just after sunrise. Thunderheads hovered over the Gulf, silent and bruised. Chloe sat beside me, prepaid phone in her lap, watching the rearview mirror. She said, "No one's following." I replied, "Predators trail farther than friends. Keep checking." 3 green checkmarks glowed on her screen. Evidence files delivered to my lawyer, a Tampa journalist, and an international watchdog server. Red Sail was public now. The road curved through pine scrub and orange groves. The cab smelled of wet vinyl and stale cinnamon. A county marshal tucked behind a billboard pulled out, paced us, then drifted away. My diver's watch lagged its usual half-beat. Phones lit up across Florida. Bank compliance flagged $40,000 wired from a Cayman account to Quiet Current LLC. Morning news feeds pushed the red sail dump, photos, texts, custody order. Marine Patrol boarded the catamaran. Gregory was below deck, Olivia on the stern in her glitter dress. Bodycam footage captured everything. Danny texted. He said, "Birds in the cage. Captain's rattled." I replied, "Sunrise always comes." I parked outside a coastal elementary school 4 counties north. Chloe carried her dolphin plush, stitched fin firm. A guidance counselor led us to an office, stamped her temporary enrollment. She said, "Can I watch from the back?" I replied, "Best angle for the truth." Inside the portable classroom she settled against the wall, sketching planets while the teacher welcomed a new observer. Outside, gulls fought over a lunch wrapper. My phone stayed silent until late morning. 20 voicemails stacked. Olivia, Gregory, unmarked numbers. I played the first. She said, "Jake, call me back. We can fix this. Think of Chloe." I deleted it. He said, "You think you won? I always land on my feet." I deleted that too. My attorney sent a photo, Olivia in cuffs, Gregory on a gurney, reporters crowding. She said, "Custody enforced. Assets frozen?" I replied, "Invoice me for any bones you broke delivering it." She sent a laughing emoji, her first. We stopped at a public jetty. The tide lapped gently. The inlet smelled of salt and iodine. I opened the dry box, 2 small tanks, regulators. Chloe hesitated. She said, "Here?" I replied, "Shallow. Honest. No lies underwater." We waded in. Salt soaked her hoodie. She laughed, sending a plume of bubbles skyward. Fish scattered, free and indifferent. An hour later we checked into a roadside motel whose vacancy sign blinked V_A_N_Y. The clerk handed keys without questions. Chloe showered while I watched local news. Gregory hauled away bleeding. Olivia moved into a cruiser, sunflowers dangling upside down in an evidence bag. A reporter shouted, "Why abandon your daughter?" Wind swallowed the answer. Chloe emerged in a towel. She said, "They can't hurt us now." I replied, "No one who lies lives long in open water." She slipped into bed, dolphin plush under her chin. I sat by the window, diver's watch ticking behind real time. Lightning cracked on the horizon. Thunder followed 6 counts later. Sunday arrived with a red horizon. Motel coffee tasted burnt, honest. A final update chimed on my phone. Catamaran seized, Cayman account frozen. I snapped a photo of the sunrise and texted my attorney. Tide out. Debris collected. Chloe shuffled out, rubbing her eyes. She said, "Where next?" I replied, "North. A place where phones don't ring." She smiled, small but real. We loaded the truck. An LED sign warned of severe weather. The air smelled of rain and nickel. The diver's watch lagged but kept ticking. Chloe said, "Dad, the past feels smaller today." I replied, "That's because the future just opened." Subscribe if you want more stories about real men who don't scream. They act. Coldly? To the end?